The hidden habits of the ultra-wealthy I discovered as a nanny and why they matter more than you think. Working as a nanny for one extraordinarily wealthy family, I learned something deeply surprising. True wealth isn't about flashy possessions or ostentatious displays. It's built quietly, through intentional habits that create space, streamline life, and respect boundaries. But here's where it gets controversial. These subtle patterns could easily be adopted by anyone. No multi-million-dollar trust fund needed. Long before I ever put pen to paper as a writer, I spent months caring for 2 young children in a home staffed more richly than many boutique hotels. I took the job as a temporary gig during a career transition, expecting only to pay rent and clear my mind. What I found instead was an invaluable education, one that money can't buy or teach you in school. At first glance, it wasn't the art on the walls or the flawless pool that struck me most. Instead, the real difference lay in the invisible rhythms, small choices repeated relentlessly until they vanished into the background, creating a seamless flow of life that felt effortless and deeply intentional. These understated habits define the family's reality and quietly set them apart. And here's the exciting part. You can start borrowing these habits today. No trust fund required. Time as true currency. The biggest symbol of wealth in that household was not a luxury car or a designer handbag. It was the gift of an empty morning. It baffled me initially. Both parents maintained high-pressure careers, yet their calendars were unexpectedly uncluttered. What I soon realized was their fierce protection of dedicated blocks for uninterrupted deep work and meaningful family moments. Menial tasks, errands, and random distractions were pushed to the periphery, either delegated, automated, or simply omitted. Meetings were batched to avoid disruption, clearly defined with strict end times. Phone calls that didn't require a live conversation were handled through quick voice notes. This intentional emptiness was not laziness, it was margin, a buffer of calm that preserved focus and presence. I observed it most vividly during the kids' morning routine. No chaos rushing to find shoes or scrambling lunches, just a well-oiled system that made peaceful starts the norm rather than the exception. Automation, invisible but everywhere systems in this home operated like the air you breathe. Often unseen but absolutely essential. Financial bills were paid automatically, groceries arrived reliably on a weekly schedule, and healthcare appointments and lessons followed sensible routines. Even the wardrobe was streamlined. Color-coordinated closets ensured dressing a busy 7-year-old didn't spark debate or delay. A shared household notebook acted as a living guidebook, detailing everything from bedtime rituals and favorite quick meals to specific soothing techniques for toddler meltdowns and even step-by-step cool-down strategies after post-soccer frustrations. There was no guesswork for me. The system made the right choice the easiest one. By making life predictable and smooth, this family reduced the mental load required to get through daily duties, whether managing investments or convincing a child to brush teeth. It's a reminder that building smart habits can preserve your willpower for what truly matters. Privacy isn't a show, it's a deliberate choice. Contrary to common stereotypes about the ultra-wealthy flaunting their lives on social media, this family practiced discretion. Doors remained closed, staff used first names only, and intimate family details stayed locked away. Social media posts were rare and carefully curated to nurture genuine connection rather than public spectacle. Security was multi-layered but quietly embedded, avoiding any fanfare. This wasn't paranoia. It was an intentional stance about what deserved to be shared and what gained value from being private. I especially noticed this with the children's artwork, celebrated around the family dinner table, pinned modestly on a corkboard, and stored thoughtfully in labeled portfolios, never broadcast online. This showed me that protecting some parts of life builds deep value, far beyond the superficial attention economy. Calm comes from having clear defaults. I've seen houses sparkling with money that reek of chaos, and modest apartments filled with peace. Money alone doesn't guarantee calm. What creates tranquility is clarity. In this household, routines had defaults to reduce decision fatigue. There was a standard breakfast, a checklist for backpack readiness, and a scripted response plan for emotional overload that guided both adults and kids when stress rose. The secret to freedom wasn't constant reinventing. It was deciding once and trusting the routine. These defaults didn't mean life was restrictive. They carved out spaciousness. When a packed toy goes missing or a flight is delayed, the family didn't scramble to innovate solutions on the spot. Instead, they relied on a go-to playbook, which instantly lowered stress. The impact was noticeable. Everyone seemed just a little lighter. Money opens doors to smarter questions, not just louder answers. One afternoon, after a tough homework session, instead of rushing to fix the problem, the mother asked a transformative question. What would make this easier to handle every day, especially when we're tired? This simple shift reframed the challenge. It wasn't about magic tricks, but designing a better system for low-energy moments. We broke math practice into bite-sized chunks with a trampoline break between. Cleanup was timed for 5 minutes to keep the end in sight. Supplies were relocated to a convenient drawer near the dining table, minimizing friction. When I eventually left to return to writing, I adopted this mindset. Betting questions can shrink overwhelming challenges into manageable steps. The power of gracious boundaries, a word that echoed throughout the household, was no. No to events that would disrupt the precious Sunday nap. No to last-minute client dinners replacing bedtime stories. No to collaborations with individuals whose behavior disrespected staff, even if they wielded influence. Boundaries weren't defensive barriers, but kind, clear lines drawing space for what truly mattered. The parents had pre-decided their non-negotiables. Family dinners, sufficient sleep, and meaningful work were sacred yeses, around which all else was flexibly arranged. The children learned these guidelines too. No screens in bedrooms, and Saturday mornings reserved for unstructured play, nature walks, or blueberry stuffed pancake extravaganzas. Food as fuel and as a reflection of values. Given my love for farmers markets, you'd expect me to be impressed by the food alone, but this family's approach was purposeful, not performative. Lunches were intentionally simple, nutrient-dense, consistent, and easy to prepare. The fridge always held kid-friendly fruit containers within reach, and Sundays were devoted to cooking pots of nourishing staples that morphed into Monday meals. While takeout was occasionally welcomed, their default was wholesome food that maintained children's energy and adults' mental clarity. Food choices carried deeper meaning. The 7-year-old helped wash spinach, learning about supporting local farms. The toddler's high chair seat transformed into a podium as they playfully wielded a wooden spoon.